Los Angeles hums like a neon beehive when you're awake before sunrise. I was, every day that week, because the story owned me. I'm Saffron Delgado, 26, freelancer, rent barely paid, caffeine in my veins. I chase monsters in daylight, corruption, cover-ups, people smiling with secrets in their teeth. The story started as a whisper in a Boyle Heights coffee shop. A barista slipped me a receipt with a phone number and one word: hospitals. I called, and a night nurse told me about a chain of clinics billing for procedures never done. I lived on bus rides and burner phones for 3 months. My apartment in Echo Park turned into a war board. Index cards, red thread, post-its blooming across the wall like a rash. I recorded everything. Every call, every interview. Date stamped, file named, backed up to clouds I could barely afford. And when I hit a point I couldn't push through, I called the only person I fully trusted with my mess: my mentor, Professor Adrian Klein. He taught investigative reporting at my community college night program. The kind of professor who carried a battered moleskin and quoted I.F. Stone like scripture. He'd read my drafts, draw little stars in the margins, and say, "Your instincts are sharper than your doubt. Follow them." I believed him. I handed him my raw, the draft, the spreadsheets, the audio. We met in Koreatown at a diner with sticky menus and fluorescent lights. He read while I shredded napkins into confetti. "Your nut graph is almost there," he said, tapping the screen. "This line: the clinic's lobby smelled like bleach and apology. That's you. Keep it." If praise was oxygen, I was breathing again. He asked if I'd be pitching it to the Meridian, the major outlet that fed the city its daily dopamine. "God, I wish," I said, "but I don't have a contact there." Klein did. He said he'd send a feeler. "Let me make a call." Quietly, he smiled. "You deserve a wide landing." I went home vibrating with hope, printed my draft, and tucked it under my pillow like a kid with a lost tooth. 2 weeks passed. No response from the outlet. Klein said the editor was traveling. "Patience," he texted. "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." Slow felt like dying. On a Wednesday that tasted like ash, my phone buzzed at 6:12 a.m., a push notification from the Meridian. Breaking: the ghost charges, inside LA's fraudulent clinic network. By Adrian Klein. I didn't read the byline at first. I saw the headline and thought, holy, they ran it. They ran my story. I clicked. The first sentence hit me with the force of an airbag. The clinic's lobby smelled like bleach and apology. My line, word for word. My stomach dropped through the floor of my apartment and kept falling. I scrolled with fingers that weren't mine. Paragraph 2 pulled quotes I'd harvested from a janitor in Van Nuys who spoke only after I promised to distort his voice. Paragraph 4 described the parking lot behind the clinic, the security light that flickered. Paragraph 7 had the exact order of my spreadsheet of false billing codes, including my typo: 9674-1 instead of 96741. I couldn't breathe, couldn't hear, couldn't form a thought bigger than a grain of salt. My phone chimed again, and again. Texts. From my best friend, Layla. "Did you see Klein's piece? That's your story." Call me from an old classmate. "Girl, are you credited?" DM me from my mother. "So proud of you. Is this yours? They interviewed your professor." The Meridian's Twitter feed posted a glossy promo video where Klein stood in front of one of the clinics, sleeves rolled up, jaw resolute. He said words I knew by bone. "We found a pattern of ghost charges that preyed on low-income patients, the invisible, the voiceless. We. We." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred into a bruise. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. On the fourth try, a text. "Swamped. Can talk later. It's complicated. Proud of you." Proud of me. That line was the fuse on a bomb. The blast peeled something soft inside me back, exposing steel. I scrolled to the bottom of the article. No mention of me. No, with research by. No, additional reporting. No Saffron anywhere. A sudden dumb hope. Maybe he protected me? Shielded me from blowback? We'd talk. He'd explain. He had to. I opened my files, pulled the draft I'd sent him. Ghost charges draft v9.docx. Its timestamp, 2:14 a.m. 2 weeks ago. My interviews, labeled and layered, janitor_van _new eyes_03.wave, nurse_3 _Southgate _02.wav, bookkeeper_Silmar _01.wave. Every one of them had a digital fingerprint and every detail was in that article. I grabbed my jacket without remembering to lock my door. Called a rideshare, told the driver, downtown. The Meridian. The city peeled by in slick strips of gray. Skid Row waking up. Broadway yawning open. The Meridian's lobby was glass and ambition. I checked in at a tablet like a supplicant. Do you have an appointment? The concierge asked, eyes on my thrift store blazer. Yes, I lied. With Klein. He was in a meeting, of course. Everyone with a lanyard moved like they were allergic to standing still. Monitors showed charts and headlines and heat maps pulsing with attention. I sat on a couch that cost my rent 6 times over and watched the screen outside the conference room. Through its frosted glass, I saw silhouettes. One of them gestured widely. Adrian's slope-shouldered outline. The conference room door opened and a woman with a haircut so precise it could slice fruit stepped out. Can I help you? She asked. I'm Saffron. I need to see Professor Klein. I kept my voice steady. She smiled with her teeth. I'm Julia Park, managing editor. Not a question. This is about Adrian's piece. It's my reporting, I said. It's my language. My sources. He was my mentor. Her face didn't move. We receive tips and collaborate with experts all the time. I'm not a tip, I said. I'm the reporter. That cracked something in her cool. She glanced at the conference room. Do you have documentation? Yes. Email me your materials, she said. We'll review. I'd prefer a meeting. She considered me like I was a stray dog deciding whether to bite. Adrian is in the middle of a debrief. He's busy, I finished. Right. Julia's phone vibrated. She looked down, clicked the screen, and stepped back into the room. The door whispered shut. A pair of interns walked by, chattering about impact metrics. I stood there, small and furious, and realized no rescue was coming from inside that building. Outside, the air smelled like exhaust and street tacos. I paced the sidewalk, calling Layla. She answered on the second ring. I'm here, she said. No hello, just there. I told her everything, every sting, every detail. On the other end, I could hear the clack of her laptop. Layla was a coder who treated problems like knots she could unpick with logic and patience. Okay, she said. We're going to build a floor under your feet. I don't have a platform, I said. Who's going to listen to a freelancer who can't afford air conditioning? You have your work, she said. You have receipts. You have the internet. And you have me. I laughed. A short, sharp sound. Great. We'll take down the empire with 2 laptops and a tote bag. You'll take back your name, she said, and something inside me steadied. I took the bus home, the kind with plastic seats that pinch your skin. The whole city looked different through the windshield of humiliation. Billboards felt like lies. People felt like threats. In my apartment, sunlight hit the red thread on my wall and turned it into a net. I sat at my desk and opened a new document. Title, The Anatomy of a Theft. I typed for hours. Every line in the Meridian piece that matched my draft went into a 2-column chart, theirs versus mine. I attached audio clips and timestamps. I wrote how I met Klein, what he promised, what I sent, when I sent it. With every keystroke, the panic drained, replaced by something cleaner. Purpose. My phone buzzed. Adrian. Finally. I stared at his name until the call died. He didn't leave a voicemail. He texted instead. "Let's not do this publicly, Saffron. It'll hurt your future. We can work something out." Work something out. Like a severance for my soul. I typed back, fingers shaking. "Why did you use my words?" The 3 little dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. He replied, "You asked for guidance. I shaped it into something publishable. That's mentorship." I pushed it over the line. My vision went white at the edges. I read the text 5 times, each pass peeling another layer off my calm. Then another text came in. Unknown number. No avatar. "I work at the Meridian. I saw your draft in the CMS before it was scrubbed." He uploaded it under his account, then changed the author. "I can help." I didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared. My phone buzzed again. Same number. "Check your email in 10 minutes. Proof incoming." For a second, I could hear only the blood rushing in my ears. There it was. The first crack in the glass wall I'd been banging my head against. I opened my inbox. A new message slid in with a subject line that made my hands go cold. Internal log. Article history. The ghost charges. I clicked on it and froze. The email wasn't long. Just a PDF attachment, 5 pages. Internal CMS log from the Meridian. I opened it, breath shallow. There it was, black and white. First upload, user ID, Akeline, timestamped 9:14 a.m. Original file name, Ghost Charges Draft V, 9.docx. My file, my title, my fingerprint. Then, Revision 1, author changed to Adrian Klein. The system noted it with the cold precision of code. My stomach twisted. Proof. The kind that doesn't vanish when someone gaslights you. Another text from the unknown number. "Don't tell anyone who sent this. I can get fired. But you deserve to know." I wanted to reply, "Who are you? Why help me?" But instead, I just typed, "Thank you," because I knew better than to interrogate an angel when they're still hovering. I called Layla on video. She answered mid-slurp of ramen, chopsticks in one hand, glasses sliding down her nose. "Tell me you have something." I rotated my laptop so she could see the PDF. Her eyes went wide. "Holy. Saffron, this is smoking gun level. They can't bury this." "They'll try." My voice cracked. "They already are." Layla leaned closer to the screen. "Then we go public. Forget begging for a seat at their table. You build your own damn table." Her confidence was contagious, but my brain still whirred with panic. "They'll call me bitter. Unstable. A failed freelancer lashing out." Layla smirked. "So what? You've got timestamps, drafts, audio, and now internal logs. That's not bitterness. That's receipts." Her words landed like a flare in the dark. The next 48 hours were a blur of coffee and obsession. I built a dossier. Side-by-side comparisons of paragraphs. Metadata screenshots from my laptop. Audio clips layered over text, my sources' voices aligned with the published quotes. Every piece a nail in the coffin. But a coffin is useless without a funeral. The question was, where do I bury Klein? At 2 a.m., scrolling through a haze of digital options, I found it. A platform called Expose, built for independent journalists locked out of legacy media. Crowdfunded, reader-supported, messy, but loud. Their tagline, "The story deserves daylight." I made an account, uploaded my files, gave the piece a title that made my chest buzz with adrenaline, Stolen words, how my mentor hijacked my investigation. I hit publish. The screen blinked, then confirmed. Live. My pulse thundered. I'd just lit a match and dropped it into a dry field. The first few hours were silence, a few pity clicks, some spam comments. Then, around noon, a tweet. Someone with a modest following in the journalism world linked it. Read this. If true, it's devastating. Then another, and another. By evening, my notifications were a wildfire. Journalists, activists, random strangers, everyone weighing in, sharing, dissecting. And then, an email from the Meridian. Subject line, request for statement. My stomach somersaulted. They wanted my statement. The same outlet that iced me out now wanted my words. The body of the email was polite venom. We've become aware of allegations regarding authorship of a recent article. Please provide documentation of your claims within 24 hours for our review. I almost laughed. Documentation? I had more than they could stomach. That night, I dreamed of my wall of red thread coming alive, threads tightening around Adrian until he couldn't breathe. I woke up shaking, but smiling. The next day, I called my mother. She answered with her usual mix of suspicion and warmth. Mija, you sound tired. Are you eating? I hesitated. How do you tell your mother that the man she once called a blessing had stabbed you in the back? Mom, Adrian stole my work, my investigation. He put his name on it. Silence, then a sharp inhale. Dios mío, that man. I should have known. You liked him, I reminded her. I like tamales too, she snapped. Doesn't mean I can't choke on one. Despite myself, I laughed. The first real laugh in days. By day 3, the story broke containment. Smaller outlets picked it up. Freelancer accuses star reporter of plagiarism. David versus Goliath in LA journalism. But the Meridian stayed silent. Stonewalling. Until a DM landed in my inbox. Blue checkmark. Investigative reporter at the Herald, one of the Meridian's rivals. Message. We're working on a piece about internal misconduct at Meridian. Off the record, are you willing to talk? I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about leverage. I typed back, yes, but I have conditions. Later that night, Layla and I sat in my apartment, laptops open, pizza box between us. She looked at me with that calm coder stare. You realize once you go on record, there's no crawling back into the shadows, right? I nodded. Good. Because this isn't just a fight for credit. It's a fight for your name, and if you don't own it, they will. I felt it then. The shift. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the storm. And Adrian Klein? He was about to learn how it feels to drown. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Text. They're planning to discredit you. Adrian's calling in favors. Be ready. I swallowed hard. The walls weren't just cracking. They were fighting back. I looked at Layla. They're coming for me. She closed her laptop, eyes blazing. Good. Let them. We'll be ready. And for the first time since this began, I believed her. But belief isn't armor. And when the hit finally came, it didn't come in whispers. It came in headlines. The next morning, my phone lit up with a news story from the Meridian. Questionable claims from disgruntled freelancer. And under it, a photo of me. Grainy, unflattering, pulled from God knows where. They'd made me the villain. The photo they used of me looked like a mugshot. Dark circles under my eyes, hair frizzed from humidity, mouth caught mid-word. It was from a student panel years ago, the kind where nobody thinks about cameras. The article dripped with condescension. She describes herself as an independent journalist, but has no formal affiliation with recognized outlets. She has previously struggled to secure bylines in competitive markets. She admits to having shared her work with Klein in an informal capacity. Informal capacity. As if I'd handed him a diary and begged him to copy it. I read the piece 3 times, each pass hollowing me out deeper. By the fourth, I was pacing my apartment, fists clenched so tight my nails left crescents in my palms. Layla barged in without knocking. She waved her phone like a sword. "Don't read that garbage, it's character assassination 101. "They're winning," I said, voice flat. "They're desperate," she shot back. "Think about it. If they were confident, they'd ignore you. The fact they published this smear means you've got them sweating." I wanted to believe her, but the comments section under their article was brutal. "Told you freelancers are bitter nobodies." Probably lying for clout. She's just mad she didn't get the job. Every word chipped at my ribs. That night, I curled up on my couch, scrolling hate like a masochist. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "Hold the line. I'll leak something bigger. Adrian cut corners before. You're not his first." I blinked at the message, heart racing. Not his first? How many others had he stolen from? Another text followed. "Check Dropbox link in 15 minutes. Passcode 7462. I set a timer and paced until it dinged. The link opened a folder of hellfire. Drafts. Notes. Emails. All tied to articles Adrian had published years earlier. Each document bore someone else's name in the metadata. I gasped. He wasn't just a thief, he was a serial predator of words. Layla stayed up with me till dawn, cross-checking every file. "This is systemic," she muttered. "He's been laundering other people's work through his career." And nobody looked twice because he wore the tweed jacket and quoted journalism saints. I rubbed my temples. If I go public with this, it's not just him. It's the Meridian. They've been publishing stolen work for years. Layla's eyes gleamed. "Exactly. This is bigger than your story. You can't just clear your name. You can burn down their house." But there was a cost. The more I dug, the more enemies I collected. By noon, my email inbox filled with threats. Anonymous accounts promising lawsuits, ruin, silence, and one email from Adrian himself. "Saffron, stop this before you destroy yourself. You don't know how this industry works. I protected you. Don't make me your enemy." Protected me. Like a thief saying he spared me from the knife while he emptied my pockets. I typed a reply. 3 words. "You already are." Then I hit send before I could think twice. 2 days later, the Herald ran its own piece. Headline: "Whistleblower alleges systemic plagiarism at rival outlet." They quoted me. On record this time. They cited the logs, the drafts, the Dropbox files. They didn't call me disgruntled. They called me a journalist fighting for her professional identity. For the first time in weeks, my name was printed correctly. The backlash was nuclear. Twitter exploded. Reddit threads spun theories about how many Klein stories were stolen goods. Former students of his crawled out of the woodwork, DMing me with suspicions, drafts, old emails. One wrote, "He told me my writing wasn't ready." Then 3 months later, he published my investigation under his name. I thought I was crazy. Thank you for proving I wasn't. My inbox became an archive of pain, a graveyard of voices he'd buried. And in the middle of it all, the Meridian released a statement. Short, corporate, cold. "We are reviewing allegations regarding past reporting. At this time, we stand by our contributor. Stand by him, not even neutral, loyal." Layla read it over my shoulder and muttered, "They're going to drag this out. Hope you get tired. Hope you run out of breath." "I won't," I whispered. But part of me wondered if I could. 3 nights later, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. A woman's voice, low and urgent. You don't know me, but I used to fact-check Adrian's pieces. I quit when I saw too much. They buried it. I still have records. Do you want them? My pulse hammered. Yes. God, yes. She hesitated. But if I send this to you, I'm done in this town. You have to promise. If you use it, you use all of it. Not just for yourself. I swallowed hard. Send it. I promise. There was a click, then silence. An hour later, a zip file landed in my inbox. Label: Meridian FC Audit Confidential. I clicked it open. What I saw made my skin go cold. Because it wasn't just plagiarism, it was cover-ups, buried corrections, killed stories that would have cost their sponsors money. This wasn't just Adrian's rot, it was the whole tree. And if I exposed it, I wouldn't just save my name. I'd declare war on one of the most powerful outlets in Los Angeles. I stared at the files until my eyes blurred. Layla whispered behind me, "What's it gonna be, Saf? Personal revenge? Or the whole truth?" And I realized I couldn't separate them anymore. Because my name wasn't just a byline, it was proof that truth mattered. I closed the folder, took a deep breath, and decided. The zip file sat on my desktop like a live grenade. Every time I hovered my mouse over it, I felt the weight of a choice. Open it, and I wasn't just exposing Adrian. I was challenging the cathedral of journalism in L.A. But hadn't they already drawn first blood? They plastered my face under a smear headline. They treated me like a disposable intern, not a journalist. Layla leaned against the wall of my apartment, arms crossed, eyes steady. "You've got two plays," she said. "One, stick to Adrian. Keep it personal, safe-ish. Two, blow the whole roof off and make enemies who'll never forgive you." "Enemies I already have," I muttered. I double-clicked. The folder exploded open with sub-files. Killed stories, fact-check, overrides, sponsor conflicts. Each one a cancerous organ cut from a body. I opened the first. Killed stories. Inside, drafts that never saw daylight. A piece about a tech company donating to politicians who shielded their data mining. A piece on police misconduct tied to Meridian's board member's brother. All stamped, "Do not publish." The second folder was worse. Fact-check underscores, overrides. Scans of memos. Adrian's name appeared again and again. Corrections he waved away. Errors flagged, then ignored, because the truth didn't fit the narrative. And the third, sponsor conflicts. Internal emails straight from the heart of corruption. Editors directing staff to soften language because an advertiser threatened to pull funding. Truth for sale, objectivity mortgaged. I sat back in my chair, trembling. This is bigger than I imagined. Layla's face was grim. They're not a news outlet. They're a PR machine with better lighting. "People need to see this," I whispered. "They will," she said. "But careful. If you just dump it, they'll spin you as reckless. You need narrative. You need airtight presentation." We turned my living room into a war room. Pizza boxes stacked in the corner. Red thread multiplied on the wall until it looked like a conspiracy theorist's fever dream. Except this wasn't theory. It was evidence. Layla coded a secure site, password protected until launch. I drafted the story, my fingers flying until they cramped. This wasn't just an exposé anymore. It was a manifesto. Title: The Ghosts in the Newsroom. Days blurred into nights. I barely slept. The hum of my laptop became my heartbeat. Every so often, Adrian's name lit up my phone. I never answered. But his texts came like clockwork. "You're ruining yourself. I was trying to protect you. Do you know how fast you'll get blacklisted? You'll never work again." Each message poured gasoline on my fire. But then, A crack. A message from a blocked number. They're digging into you. Old classmates. Former landlords. They'll paint you unstable. They'll smear your family. Get ready. I felt my chest tighten. They're going to dig up my mom, I whispered to Layla. She's undocumented. She doesn't even have papers for half the years we've been here. If they drag her into this... Layla grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. That's fear talking. That's their playbook. They want you scared enough to fold. Don't. Tears burned my eyes, but anger steadied my jaw. No more folding. The tipping point came 2 weeks later. The Herald called. The same rival outlet that first covered my claims. This time, their editor-in-chief wanted an exclusive. Bring us the files, she said. We'll give you reach. We'll protect you legally. But we need it first. Her voice was honey and steel, tempting, safe, but also theirs. I hung up and stared at Layla. If I give it to them, they control the narrative. They'll pick what sells, kill what doesn't. Just like the Meridian. So don't, she said simply. Publish it yourself. Own the story. All of it. That night, I uploaded everything. The logs, the emails, the buried stories, the audit trail. I wrote an introduction with my pulse hammering in my ears. This isn't just about me. This is about a culture where theft and silence are rewarded, and truth is buried for profit. I was betrayed by a mentor. But the bigger betrayal is how easily the system protects men like him. Here is what they never wanted you to see. Layla hovered her finger over the launch button. You ready? I took a breath. No, but I'm doing it anyway. She clicked. The site went live at 11:58 p.m. By 12:10, it had 2,000 hits. By 12:30, 10,000. By 1 a.m., it crashed under the weight of traffic. We rebooted servers scrambling. My phone buzzed nonstop. Mentions, retweets, journalists DMing. And then, a hashtag started trending. Ghost Charges Gate. My story wasn't just a story anymore. It was a movement. But victory is never clean. At 3:14 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I picked up. A male voice. Low. Urgent. Stop. Take the site down. You don't know who you're dealing with. This isn't just Klein, it's bigger. Much bigger. The line went dead before I could speak. Layla looked at me, wide-eyed. Who the hell was that? I didn't know, but the tone wasn't a threat. It was a warning, and suddenly I realized. I hadn't just lit a match in a dry field. I'd stumbled into a forest fire with gasoline strapped to my back. The stranger's voice still rattled in my head. Not a threat. A warning. The kind of warning people give when they know you've stepped over an invisible line. Layla shut my laptop and looked me dead in the eyes. Do not spiral. That's exactly what they want. Focus. But my pulse was sprinting. What if he's right? What if this isn't just Adrian? What if I kicked a hornet's nest way bigger than me? You did, she said flatly. And that's the point. By dawn, my story was everywhere. National outlets picked it up. Talk shows debated it. Podcasts speculated. Some praised me. Others questioned my motives. One TV pundit sneered. She's milking a personal grievance and pretending it's systemic. But the documents spoke louder than any smear. Screenshots of emails. Audit logs. Proof of sponsors pulling strings. Proof of corrections buried. People weren't just mad at Adrian. They were mad at the whole machine. At noon, my mom called. Her voice shook. Mija. Men in suits came to the cafe asking for me, asking about you. What's going on? My chest seized. Did you tell them anything? Of course not. I told them to buy a coffee or get out. But she whispered, Saffron, I'm scared. I closed my eyes, rage boiling. They won't touch you. I promise. Even if I wasn't sure I could keep that promise. That evening, the Meridian broke its silence with a press conference. Adrian stood at the podium in his tweed blazer, sleeves rolled up like he was the people's champion. Flashbulbs popped. He cleared his throat, eyes heavy with faux sorrow. I've spent my career teaching and mentoring young journalists. I've always encouraged collaboration. Unfortunately, one of my students misinterpreted the nature of our mentorship. Gasps. Pens scribbled. He continued, voice dripping condescension. She provided background material, yes, but raw notes don't make a story. I shaped it into publishable form. I bear no malice toward her. Only disappointment that she chose to attack, rather than learn. I gripped my phone so hard I thought it would crack. Learn. He framed theft as a lesson, and me as the unruly child. Layla grabbed the remote and muted the screen. Classic Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. He's scared. That's why he's spinning. I wanted to scream. Instead, I tweeted. One sentence. He didn't mentor me. He erased me. It went viral in minutes. That night, the mysterious number texted again. You're making enemies who don't show their faces. Watch your back. I replied this time. Who are you? Why help me? No answer. Just silence. Days blurred. I barely left the apartment. Emails poured in. Journalists asking for interviews. Strangers sharing their own stories of stolen work. Old classmates apologizing for not believing me sooner. And then came the bombshell. A leak on Reddit. Anonymous user posting screenshots of the Meridian's board emails. Subject line. Managing fallout from Delgado situation. The email thread read like a conspiracy script. Plan to discredit me as unstable. Push narratives that I fabricated sources. Quietly investigate my finances, my family, my immigration ties. They wanted to dig until something cracked. Or until I did. Layla slammed her laptop shut. They're playing dirty. We need allies. Bigger ones. Who? I asked. Everyone with a stake in killing corruption, she said. Activists, watchdogs, whistleblower groups. If they smear you, you need an army to push back. That night, I reached out to every contact I had. A nonprofit that defended journalists under fire. A watchdog group focused on corporate corruption. Even an underground network of whistleblowers I found through a secure forum. For the first time, I wasn't just alone with Layla. I had a community. People who knew what it was to risk everything for truth. But truth has a price. At 3 a.m., someone threw a rock through my window. Glass shattered across my floor. Attached to the rock was a note. Scribbled in all caps. Stop. Or next time it's not just glass. My heart pounded so loud I couldn't hear. I picked up the note, hands shaking. Layla grabbed her phone. Cops? I shook my head. They'd love that. Make me look paranoid. Make me the story instead of the evidence. Instead, I took a picture of the note and posted it. Caption: This is what happens when you challenge power. They try to silence you. It spread like wildfire, and instead of silencing me, it made the movement louder. But with every escalation, I knew the risk grew sharper. This wasn't just a war of words anymore. This was survival. And the next move I made would decide if I lived in the shadows forever, or if I burned their empire down for good. The day after the rock, I started sleeping in shifts like a hostage negotiator. One eye open, one hand on my phone. Layla turned my living room into a command center. Whiteboards, backups. A map of who we trusted and how to reach them. She brewed coffee that tasted like metal and determination. My inbox was a map of alliances, a nonprofit offering pro bono counsel, a university lab willing to forensically verify my audio files, An editor at an online magazine promising to run serialized pieces of the Dropbox archive. Most important, a message from the woman who'd sent the Meridian internal audit. Her username was a string of numbers, but her tone had a human weight to it. Meet me. I have more, and I want to make sure your mom is safe. I agreed without hesitation. We met in a diner 2 blocks from my apartment, the kind of place that smells of coffee and second chances. She wore a gray hoodie and a tired, direct face. You can call me Mara, she said, hands around a coffee like a shield. Mara had worked in Meridian's fact-checking department for 7 years. She'd buried corrections until her conscience felt like a tumor. She said she left 2 months ago after an executive quashed a fact that would have exposed a donor's malpractice. You knew what he was doing, I said. You saw his pattern. She nodded. Adrian has a way of taking credit and making the silence look consensual. People fear him. Editors fear the advertisers who wield him. How much do you have? I asked. Everything that matters, she said. Internal emails, voicemails, versions of stories with tracked changes. There's also, she swallowed, a ledger that shows payments funneled to ghost freelancers. It's ugly. My stomach dipped. Why help me now? I asked. Why risk everything? She took a breath and said something that did not surprise me. Because I couldn't live with myself. And because, when I read your piece, I saw that you weren't trying to ruin anyone for attention. You wanted your work to matter. That mattered to me. It was the kind of answer that made hope feel like a dangerous drug, but we had to act fast. Layla and I spent the next week vetting everything Mara handed over. We ran emails through metadata tools, cross-checked timestamps, confirmed IP addresses. We had digital fingerprints from Meridian's office network. We had voices that matched the recordings in my files. We had a trail that led straight to the editorial desk. A lawyer from the nonprofit told me what I already suspected. This could be messy. Libel suits, restraining orders, cease and desist letters that would freeze our ability to publish. He also said something that steadied me. The evidence we had was stronger than their defenses. We'll file preemptive notices, he said. We'll get safe harbor letters for your mother. And if they try to seize your devices, we'll make sure copies exist elsewhere. You really think this will topple them? I asked. He didn't promise anything, but he said, people believe documents. And when documents point to a pattern, institutions have to answer. We decided on a multi-pronged release, partial exclusives to trusted outlets, simultaneous documents drops, and an independent archive for public inspection. The plan required nerves of steel, and more than that, trust. Mara suggested one more ally, someone who'd been quietly leaking to her for months, an ex-editor named Tomas who lived off-grid in Ventura but kept a cache of archived emails going back a decade. If he gives you what he has, Mara said, it'll be impossible for them to paint this as a personal vendetta. We found Tomas in a co-op cafe, hair like a wild rumor and a laugh that fit his face. He handed us a hard drive wrapped in paper like contraband and said, "You kids do what I couldn't." I made noise, but I lacked a fire. We loaded the drive into 3 separate computers and began the slow, meticulous work of proving a pattern. Each file we verified became a brick in an accusation they couldn't easily deny. Then, on a Thursday morning, the first legal volley hit. A law firm with a marble logo and a disdain for commas sent a letter to my inbox. Cease and desist. Threats of litigation. Demand to take down the site or face irreparable reputational harm. They attached one paragraph that made me physically ill, a subpoena for my devices. I read it twice, then 3 times, as if repetition could make the paper kind. Layla slammed her palm on the table. This is expected. We have contingencies. She was right. We had redundancies, servers in other states, hard copies hidden with a friend across town, a lawyer on retainer specifically for this moment. But the subpoena changed the tenor. They weren't just throwing words now, they were trying to pry my work out of my hands. We countered with a motion supported by the nonprofit, demand for internal audits at Meridian, insistence on transparency, and an offer to mediate. It was a chess match played with subpoenas and headlines. In the middle of it, my mother called. She had seen a man in a suit again, this time at the laundromat. "He asked about you," she said, voice small. "He said he worked for a big paper and just wanted to know if I had any records." My hands shook. I told her to stay inside, lock the door, change her routine. I wanted to be brave for her, to be the daughter who says it's okay. But the truth was heavier. The people who kept the lights on in multi-billion-dollar institutions had friends in low places. That night, someone left an envelope on my stoop. No note, no return address. Inside, a single Polaroid of my mother, taken from across the street at the cafe. My throat closed. Not a threat. It was a message. They knew where to find the people I loved. I called Mara. "Is this?" I began. She was silent for a beat. "Adrian's people have resources," she said, "and they'll use them." "We can't back down now," I said, though my voice trembled. "No," she said. "This is when we lean in." The next morning, the city felt like a held breath. Every siren a drumbeat. Every passerby a possible witness. We prepped for court. We organized our releases. We rehearsed statements until they sounded like truth and not fear. Then, as we were about to publish a sealed tranche of emails proving that Meridian killed a police oversight story to protect a board member, my phone blinked with a message from an unknown number. "Don't publish. One more step and they'll come for everyone connected to you, including your mother. You'll regret it." I stared at the words until they bled together. Layla slid onto the couch and wrapped her arms around me like an anchor. "Are you scared?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Because fear is honest and complicated, and bravery isn't the absence of it. It's acting while it's there. We uploaded the tranche anyway. The site went live. Within an hour, the world saw the emails. Within 2, the Meridian's PR line started to crack. Then my phone rang. A blocked number. I answered. A man's voice said calmly, without malice, "You made a choice." There was a pause. "And now you will have to choose again." The line went dead. I stood in the middle of my living room and realized what he meant. The storm wasn't over. I'd stepped into a war where every gain came with a price. And the next choice, whom to protect and how far to push, was about to cost more than credit or bylines. The blocked call echoed in my skull long after the line went dead. "You will have to choose again." Choose what? What to publish? Who to protect? Or maybe, who to sacrifice? By morning, the backlash hit like a tidal wave. My story was front-page news, not just in LA, but on national wires. Cable hosts spat my name like I was a scandal instead of a journalist. The Meridian doubled down. A second press conference. Adrian again, this time looking grave, a man pretending to shoulder the world. "This is a campaign against me. Against truth. Ms. Delgado is unstable. She's been warned by legal authorities to stop spreading defamatory material." Lies, but lies dressed in a suit are louder than truth whispered in a hoodie. My mom called, her voice trembling. "Baby, my boss says men came by again, asking about my immigration papers. Do you think they'll—" I cut her off. "They can't touch you, Mama. Not legally. They're bluffing." But when I hung up, I collapsed against the wall, shaking. They weren't bluffing. They were sending messages. They couldn't stop me with arguments, so they'd squeeze me through her. Layla found me on the floor, eyes wet, hands trembling. "This is exactly why they do it," she said softly. "They want you too scared to keep going. But you're not alone. We've got people now. We fight smarter, not quieter. That afternoon, Mara messaged me. We need to meet. Something big is coming. We picked a public place, Union Station, crowded enough to swallow us. She looked worse than before, eyes darting, hoodie pulled low. They're moving against you legally, yes, she said, but they're also moving internally. I overheard an editor say they've hired private investigators. They're digging into your mom, into Layla, into your past. My throat closed. What do I do? Make it harder for them, she said. Publish faster. Every time they come for you, make sure the cost is another leak. Don't give them silence to exploit. That night, I wrote like my fingers were on fire. I turned Mara's latest evidence into a story about Meridian's financial rot. How their sponsors weren't just advertisers, but silent editors. How watchdog stories died on the altar of profit. We set it to publish at dawn. And then I tried, for the first time in weeks, to sleep. But sleep didn't last. A pounding on my door jolted me awake. Layla sat up on the couch, laptop clattering to the floor. "Who the hell?" she whispered. The pounding grew louder, authoritative. "Open up!" "Police." I froze. "Police? At 3 a.m.? Layla's eyes narrowed. "Don't. They don't come banging like that for nothing. They want you to open without a warrant." The pounding stopped. Silence pressed against the door. Then footsteps receded down the hall. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text. "We don't need your permission. Remember that." I dropped the phone like it burned. At dawn, the story went live. Traffic exploded again. Journalists DM'd me, asking for comment. A coalition of watchdog groups issued statements backing me, calling for an independent review of the Meridian. For the first time, they weren't just reacting, they were on defense. But with the victory came a cost. A video surfaced that afternoon, grainy security footage of my mom arguing with a customer at the cafe. The caption twisted it. Delgado's mother accused of threatening patrons. History of instability in the family? A smear. So blatant it almost seemed comical. But I knew what they were doing, seeding doubt. My mom called me sobbing. "I just told him to stop being rude to the waitress. That's all. Now the neighbors look at me like I'm poison." Her voice broke something inside me. I wanted revenge, yes, but not like this. Not with her in the crossfire. That night, Layla and I argued for the first time. "You can't keep her here," she said. "They'll keep targeting her until she breaks." "She's my mother," I snapped. "I can't just abandon her." "I'm not saying abandon," Layla said, voice shaking. "I'm saying protect. Get her somewhere safe, out of the blast zone. Right now, she's their easiest weapon against you." I hated that she was right. I hated that it felt like choosing between my name and my blood. Mara texted again at midnight. "They're preparing to sacrifice Adrian. Cut him loose to protect the outlet. Be ready." I stared at the message, numb. He was about to become their fall guy. They'd let him burn, and in doing so, shield the institution. Layla saw the look on my face. "They're pivoting," she said. "They'll give the world his head on a platter so the board stays untouched." And suddenly, I realized, if I didn't move first, the story would end with him. And everything else, the sponsors, the cover-ups, the systemic theft, would be buried with him. I had a choice. Take the win, or risk everything to push further. And as much as I hated him, as much as I wanted to see Adrian humiliated, I knew one thing. If I let them feed me his head, the bigger monsters would keep eating. That night, I drafted a new post. Not about Adrian, about the board, the money, the machine. I typed until my fingers ached, until my eyes blurred. When I finished, I stared at the headline. Not just one man, the system that stole the truth. My hand hovered over the publish button, because once it went live, there would be no going back. No more protecting just myself. No more hiding behind the shield of being a victim. This would be open war. My finger hovered over the publish button like it was a trigger. And in many ways, it was. One story had already set my life on fire. This one would burn the whole house down. I clicked. The post went live at 6:42 a.m. By 7, my phone was vibrating nonstop. By 8 o'clock, hashtags spread like gasoline. Hashtag not just Klein. Hashtag ghosts in the newsroom. And by noon, the Meridian was trending. For all the wrong reasons. I hadn't written about Adrian this time. I'd written about the board, about the sponsors who pulled strings, about the stories killed for money, about the ledger showing how freelance voices, my voice, countless others, had been erased. Receipts, screenshots, metadata, everything verifiable, undeniable. People were furious, not just at Adrian, at the entire structure that allowed him to thrive. The Meridian tried to get ahead of it. A statement. We are conducting a full internal review. Mr. Klein has been suspended pending investigation. Translation. We're tossing him under the bus. Adrian called me that night. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. His voice was hoarse. You don't understand what you've done. Oh, I understand, I said, cold. You taught me. Every stolen word, every erased byline, you were the lesson. He sighed. They'll survive this. They always do. But you, this will chew you up. They'll blacklist you. You'll never work again. Then I'll build my own work, I said. My own outlet. My own name. You can't blacklist what you can't own. Silence. Then he hung up. And for the first time, I felt like I'd won something real. The days that followed were chaos. News outlets scrambled. Some defended the Meridian, others piled on. Whistleblowers sent me messages by the dozens, stories of stolen work, buried truth, silenced voices. The dam had cracked, and now the flood was unstoppable. But it wasn't easy. My mom had to leave LA for a while, staying with cousins in Arizona. Safer there, away from the vultures. We cried on the phone, both of us pretending to be braver than we felt. Layla never left my side. We ate cold pizza at 3 a.m., half laughing, half crying, running servers and firewalls like our lives depended on it, because they did. Mara disappeared. Her last message? Stay loud. Silence is how they win. I never heard from her again. Part of me wonders if she fled, or if silence was forced upon her. 2 weeks later, the final blow landed. The Herald published a bombshell. Leaked documents confirming that Meridian executives had coordinated to protect sponsors and bury oversight stories. Their stock tanked. Advertisers pulled funding. The managing editor resigned. And Adrian? He vanished. No classes, no lectures. His name scrubbed from bios, his reputation shredded. The man who taught me to follow instincts now lived as a ghost of his own making. For me, it wasn't glory. It wasn't a Hollywood ending. I didn't land a shiny staff job or a book deal overnight. But I had something more powerful. Credibility. My name. And an audience that trusted me because I'd bled for the truth. I started a platform with Layla, a collective for freelancers, whistleblowers, anyone silenced or stolen from. We called it Byline, because everyone deserves their name on their work. Sometimes, when the city hums at night, I think about the cost. The broken glass, the photos of my mom, the smear headlines with my face. And I wonder, was it worth it? Then I remember the janitor in Van Nuys, the nurse in Southgate, the barista who slipped me a phone number that started it all, the people who trusted me with their truth. And I know, yes, because this wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation. It was survival. It was my name, Saffron Delgado, written where it belonged. And this time, no one could erase it. Final line for narration. When they tried to bury me, they forgot. I was already planting seeds.